Evening and welcome to the Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 meeting of the Ayer Planning Board. This meeting hearing of the Ayer Planning Board will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for an in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID number 833-6548-0732 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Danny Ruiz, Town Planner, at druiz@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 144 prior to the meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Discussion. Hearing none, how do you vote, Ken?
Aye.
Julie?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Nathan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Agenda's approved. Danny, I believe the first item is the endorsement of the amended zoning map from October 28th at the Fall Town Meeting.
Yes. So as everyone knows, at the Fall Town meeting, the town voted to approve the zoning map update, which shows the MBTA overlay district, shown right here in this red hatching and down here in this red hatching. So it was already approved, but at this point, the planning board just needs to endorse it and sign. So
Do you need a motion or it? So, yeah, I move that we sign the amended zoning map as approved by the Fall Town Meeting on October 28th, 2024.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Ken?
Aye.
Yes.
Julie? Nathan, right? Kathleen, right? Nathan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Tillotson, aye.
And Jonathan, the chair, says aye. So we
I'll
know
have you guys sign it
we'll
at the
just
end.
sign it at the end.
Can I just briefly, on town meeting, ask, in the future, could we have a discussion prior to fall town meeting or any town meeting where we have to be on stage or are requested to be on stage, that we discuss it at our planning board meeting?
I found out when we were there too. So
That's
yep,
okay.
Yep.
We
In the
roll.
future, I will make sure that we know.
Talked to
Yep.
the town official, it was great. But if I could just say that as a group, that would be really helpful.
Yes.
If the town told us ahead of time.
Yeah. I'll make sure that we know in the ahead of time.
Awesome. Thanks, Danny.
We have the moderator right here at the table with us, so who makes that decision?
It is
Town moderator, you should know, right?
typically not every town meeting does it the exact same way.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, typically the finance committee would be sitting on the stage in a situation where it's finance, which is typically our spring town meeting, and in the fall special, since we do zoning and planning, it would be the zoning board. I mean the planning board, excuse me. And the communication didn't happen. I'm probably equally at fault, and I apologize. No, it's
No.
people make mistakes. Stuff gets by.
I think
So-
you have quite a bit to work on for that. So just if the town thinks
Yeah.
about it ahead of time, that would be
Yeah.
awesome.
When you mentioned it to me last week or so, I thought to myself, gee, that's something I missed.
We learn as we go. Thank you.
All right. The next item is to open a public hearing for 1 Park Street. We need a motion. I want to address an elephant in the room. I don't believe we need to read the notice, right?
But if,
When it's advertised in the paper, I thought you had
yeah,
to-
it's the one that's in the paper.
15 minutes ago, it was brought to my attention that there's an issue with the definition of restaurant. And is that with the bylaws or the regulations? Where would
Bylaw.
in the bylaw
302.
of the bylaw?
Definitions in our bylaw.
However, at this point, the building commissioner, who has the authority to determine applicability of zoning, has raised no objection to this in spite of being aware of the application for some time. And his judgment is the one that we follow. Further, there will be opportunity to discuss the issue in detail as necessary. But I do want to draw attention that the issue does exist and is on the table. In that context, do I have a motion to open the public hearing for 1 Park Street?
So moved.
Is it a second?
Second.
Discussion.
I think we should be, I don't know,
Go ahead. Discussion is discussion.
I think you commented on the building inspector's, the fact that he reviewed it, but we haven't seen anything in writing that said anything different than that. His comments basically just involved a sign.
Exactly.
So should he have given us a letter that said, I reviewed this and determined according to the bylaw that it is a restaurant?
So the way typically, the way our process works is the applicant, before any submissions, there is a meeting with myself and Charlie. During that meeting, we discuss all of the, discuss the project, the application and everything. Prior to that, Charlie makes a determination on the zoning. He's the one who reviews it to make sure it can even go to site plan review. By him telling them to come to me for site plan review, that's where I take it up. I don't take it on before that on his zoning opinions, his enforcement, on his determination on whether or not this move forward. He told them to come to me, so I take it from there. I take it as by him telling them to come to me that it meets the zoning, because I'm the town planner. I don't make zoning determinations. He's the building commissioner. He makes the zoning determinations. So that's why the process is always go to Charlie first, meeting with Charlie and myself, and then planning board after that. In that whole process, nothing was ever raised to me. No, Charlie never raised an issue on the definition of restaurant. But Mr. Tillotson does raise a good point about the definition, and I'll read this right now.
Okay, I was gonna read it.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Do you have an objection to Danny reading it, or you
Comment
prefer
before
to?
Danny reads
I
it.
would actually like to add a little bit of context to this also. Understanding that people make mistakes. I think you all heard me say a moment ago, I made a mistake. But if you would like me to wait, I'll wait, sir.
I'd like to comment on what Danny said, and I'm not questioning whether the zoning enforcement officer made a decision on the zoning.
Mhm.
I know it complies with zoning. My question is, does it comply with the use change to a restaurant? Yes, we do allow restaurants in that zone, so naturally, the zoning would work.
Mhm.
I think our question is more broad-based than that.
The
Is
use.
the application which is applying to be a restaurant in the application, in fact, a restaurant,
So that's the use.
not the zoning.
No. Actually, you're.
Am I twisting it?
Yeah, you are. So,
I'm fine.
no, the definition of restaurant
Yeah,
and uses fall under zoning.
okay. It's in the zoning bylaw.
It's in the zoning bylaw, exactly. So he makes that determination. They came forth as a restaurant. Charlie knows. That's what Charlie believed. I'm not going to speak for Charlie, actually.
That's good.
I'm not going to speak for
We
Charlie.
don't need to-
I don't know what Charlie determined that.
Exactly.
Based on what we have, based on the fact that he sent them to me for site plan review, I'm going to interpret that as he understood that this is a restaurant in his interpretation. I don't know. I will have to, that will be a question that I will have to ask him
Right.
prior to the next meeting.
Okay.
And I think if at that point it is determined that whether or not it is a restaurant or not, I think at the next meeting, then the planning board can make we can discuss what the next steps would be. Withdrawal without prejudice, there's options on how we handle this.
You're gonna read it, the definition?
May I?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go,
Jeff,
sorry.
go ahead.
May I please add some context? So I enjoyed getting the email from Danny on Thursday afternoon that had the full application in it. And I read through the application. And what triggered this for me to look it up was I don't know what page it is, section 3.0 project narrative from the applicant. Under proposed conditions, it says there will be no internal seating at the restaurant. Instead, the restaurant will be a pickup and delivery model similar to other Domino's establishments. And I was around when we wrote the bylaw. Okay, we remember some things, which made me go back and take a look at my really old version of the bylaws I had at home, and then I checked on the web, and then Samantha was very good this morning to give me the actual site that we now have in, what do we call it, 302?
E-code. Yeah,
E-code.
E-code 360.
Exactly. So if you take a look at and the reason I put it together, Mr. Chair, was I didn't know what we'd have here. We have a new setup, okay? So I looked at that, and then I went and read the restaurant thing. And it's hard to read up there, and I've emailed you this. But if I may, my glasses don't work at that distance. A restaurant, and this is section 302, subsection 320-2.2, terms defined. Under restaurant, a food service establishment where food is prepared, served, and consumed inside a building or on an attached patio or other outdoor seating area on the premises, and provides seating accommodations for all patrons to be served at any one time. A restaurant may include a bar or lounge as an accessory use, or the taking of food and drink from the building as incidental. Restaurant does not include an establishment that operates exclusively or principally as a caterer, a food processing establishment, a retail food store, or a takeout food service establishment, nor does it include drive-through service. And I guess I remember that because when I started with the planning board back in the last century, thank you, Mr. Ziskin. This was an important thing because drive-throughs were coming up all the time. Just happen to remember that. So I question if we got here simply because a mistake was made along the way. And I'd just like to put that out there. We have a definition, and it's not clear. I read the application a couple of times. It's not clear if the applicant is looking for relief from this definition or not. I don't even know who would grant relief from this definition. But I would argue strongly that the description of the proposed conditions in the application itself would be the obverse of the actual definition of restaurant we have in our bylaw. So in the interest of everyone's time, that's why I brought it up. I would have pointed this out had I seen the application way back when. I'm no longer
Or
involved.
Thursday.
I read it over the weekend. Actually, I read it yesterday morning for the first time. This is when I went looking for the definition. We had a Veterans Day. It was hard. I actually didn't know about E-code. And actually, Ken, did I call you on Sunday evening? You're hitting a bucket of balls?
So,
Yeah. So anyway, bottom line is, I want to make sure that, and I don't want to throw, I let you guys know, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. People make mistakes, and things get omitted and missed. But I don't even know who would grant relief from this definition.
I don't know,
If
may
at all
I?
possible.
Your concerns are noted, and I think we're aware that there's an issue with the definition of restaurant here. However,
Wait a minute,
hold on.
is an issue with the definition or the
No,
definition
an
of the
issue
application?
regarding the definition. That's,
So,
excuse me, let me finish, please. However, the applicant's here, we're all here, and I think 99 out of 100 people who are asked, what's a Domino's, would intuitively think, well, it's a restaurant. And I think in light of that, and given that before us is a vote whether to open public hearing, my opinion is that we should open the public hearing, that we should at least hear from the applicant. They are aware of this concern and issue, and that in the subsequent space between this meeting and the next, we get to the heart of this issue and do it rationally. But I think we should vote, open, and allow the discussion to move forward.
may I respond to that, please?
You may.
So, let's end game this one way or the other. If the board, in its wisdom, decides that this application does not work, the definition holds up, and we deny the application, what is the impact upon the applicant? How long do they have to wait to reapply?
So based on that, it's a 2-year wait.
Okay,
The applicant could also withdraw
So-
without prejudice.
exactly. So I bring this up because I believe it should be the applicant's choice to start or not start at this point in time. Because should we open the hearing and move forward and continue, and then in our wisdom, we do not say yes to it because of this issue, did we do the right thing by the applicant? That's
Well,
my concern.
Let me just clarify on that.
Please.
So the way it works, if we open
Mhm.
and we go through this process and we then determine, the building commissioner determines that, say, it does not meet the definition of a restaurant, at that point, at the next meeting, the applicant could withdraw without prejudice. That does not affect him on resubmitting at a later time, going to zoning board for relief or some sort of thing. However he wants to do or not move forward, it's at that point that he's allowed. If we do not open it, we are now going into the statutory limit of when we have to open the public hearing by when the application has been submitted, and
I don't have the date page for the application.
approval will be, constructive approval will then enact, and even though he doesn't meet the zoning, we then have already approved it.
Thank you. So if I look at, I just have the only note I have in front of me is
It's the
from,
signs.
So the actual application was submitted on,
this says 10/17/24.
it was October 18th was when it was, I believe it was when it was submitted, October 18th.
The comments from the building inspector prior to the submission of the application.
Are they?
So then it wasn't on,
10/17.
so the 18th was the deadline, so he may have submitted it before that. So
Okay.
that's, I don't have the actual date on me.
Okay. And so we have 90 days from 10/17 or 10/18?
No, it's 45 days.
45 days.
Well,
Do
the
you think
application
we-
is dated the 17th, his application.
His application.
I don't know when
The
you
stamp
stamped it
date.
in.
Yeah, so it may have been the 17th. I don't have the actual, it's at my computer. I don't have access to my computer from here.
So we run the risk of,
Constructive approval.
okay.
Let me ask my
What was the
board,
date of that?
excuse me, while you're working the day, I want to ask my board colleagues, do you feel that you have sufficient information at this point to make a vote one way or another about whether to open this public hearing?
I would request that Danny state more clearly what his preference would be as the town. I think you just alluded to it, but I would like, as I'm watching a few screens right now, I would appreciate you being direct in what you recommend.
Yeah, so the 45 days we would miss for our next meeting, because the 26th is our next meeting. We would miss the 45 days. I would suggest that we open the public hearing, allow the applicant to make their presentation.
Comments by us.
Yep, comments,
Comments,
go through the
The
normal
whole
process.
The whole
Usual
process.
process.
Do the whole normal process. And tomorrow, I'll talk to Charlie about the definition and the application and how he came to a determination on how he did.
Did he?
Or did he? I don't know. And then provide the board a letter if he determines that it is or is not.
May I ask a question, please?
Mhm.
At what point, once we open the hearing, by when do we have to make a determination?
So I believe it is. Let me just get the actual. I believe it is 60 days, but I believe it's 60 days. I believe it's 60 days, and then within 90 days.
Planning board has 45 days to hold a site plan review meeting, and
Yep.
after due consideration of the recommendations, the board shall take final action
Within
within 90 days from the date of submission, not from the time we open
Yeah.
the meeting.
So
that
he.
would be 10/17, 11/17, 12/17.
Yeah.
January 17th.
Yeah.
Would you like me
No,
to?
you won't.
Can I, Nathan?
Just one
You can find it.
comment. As I understand the process, are we going to then accept and receive a application when we start the, when we start the open meeting?
Oh, we have the application.
We have the application.
The application has already been accepted by myself.
Okay, there's not going to be a vote to accept it. Okay.
No,
I'm the one that makes that determination.
Okay.
So I accepted it on the date that I signed it, which I believe is October 17th or 18th.
Okay.
I can't remember the date.
Okay.
I'll give you the 18th.
Sounds
Doesn't
good.
matter.
Yeah, then I think, I agree with the chair that I think, at least the sense I get, that we can hear it, there's options, we can hear this, there's options to follow up on some of the legal questions.
Ken, do you feel you have sufficient information to be able to make a vote on whether to open the public hearing or not?
Yeah, I agree with Danny that we could open the public hearing and the fact that it establishes a good solid date. And then I think the applicant will get a hint already from our discussion what they need to do, if anything. And then we can clearly go through their application after the hearing is open. And if we have any more questions, we'll get to them then, and we can go to the plans. And then at that point in time, the applicant has the ability to withdraw without prejudice if we get close to a decision at the end.
Yeah.
So they have everything open to them at that point.
So I'm going to
I
call.
think that, I
consent.
kind of agree with Jeff that there's a chance that it could be a mistake here. This is kind of tricky.
It is.
So it's a possibility, it's an oversight.
It could be.
I would feel comfortable with a letter from Charlie that he has reviewed it. And I still might not agree with it, even though we get the letter.
Agreed. And I just want to clarify, this vote is only to open the hearing. It's not about any conclusions whatsoever, just for clarity. Okay. That said, I'm going to call a vote. Ken?
Aye.
Yes.
Julie? Nathan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Nay.
Chair votes aye. So, Danny, can you describe the,
Do you want to have the applicant?
yeah, the applicants come up. So what I usually do at this point is turn to the town planner to give us a sense of what we can accomplish this evening. Then we give the applicant and the applicant's representative to talk about their narrative for the application. We give the board the chance to ask any questions or present any concerns they have, and then we open up to the public for any comments or questions. And Danny, did you have any comments before I turn it to the applicant?
So I think since we've already discussed this, the bigger topic that came up, I think what we'll do is, so right now the applicant has comments that came from the DPW and from the building commissioner. They have not had a chance to respond to them yet. I believe they have reviewed them, and they'll be getting responses to me, as well as the waivers, the list of waiver requests and the reasonings behind those. So those are still some open items that are necessary. And then I'll make sure if there's anything else. And then so we can, I think, have them do their presentation, review the department head comments, and then at that point we can deal with the continuation to the next meeting and getting an opinion from Charlie on this, and waiting on the responses and the waivers, waiver requests.
Okay, great.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. I was thinking the waiver requests normally come in with the application, or they're on the drawings.
Yes, so on our application, there's, they did say that they needed waivers from certain items, but they did not provide the actual waiver request and the reasoning.
Okay.
But on the actual application, they did check off certain ones that said that they needed waivers.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, may I ask a question? It's not to beat a dead horse. I believe it is the applicant's responsibility to make sure that their application is in compliance with the bylaw. I don't believe it is solely up to the building inspector or the zoning enforcement officer. The fact that I just want to say that outright. We have bylaws that are published. So I think it's actually the applicant's responsibility. Thank you.
Hey, would you guys introduce yourselves? And then you got the floor.
My name's Keith Bell. I'm the owner of the Domino's Pizza that's proposing to go here.
My name is Frank McPartlin. I'm an engineer representing Keith Bell from Dillis & Roy Civil Design Group. Happy to be here for a different project.
Welcome.
So I will jump into my narrative. Subject property is located at Park Street, as shown on Assessor's Parcel Map 26, Lot 358, in the downtown Park Street FBC zoning district. The existing parcel is fully developed and contains a former bank building along with associated parking. The property contains 0.41 acres on approximately 14,500 square feet of land, with 281.66 feet of frontage along Main Street and Park Street. It is a corner lot in this location. The existing building is connected to municipal sewer and municipal water, along with natural gas, electric, and telecommunication utilities, all underground. There are existing drainage structures in the landscape areas, along with catch basins in the Park Street and Main Street gutter lines. The building is served by interior sidewalks and accessible ramps. The Park Street, so there are two parking areas kind of on this plan. One that I'm calling the Park Street area is served from Park Street itself, and then there is access from Main Street, and I'll kind of discuss those separately. The Park Street parking lot consists of approximately 120-foot long curb cut along the frontage. There are 18 striped spaces and 2 pole-mounted lights in this parking area. There's a drive-up ATM located along the north face of the existing building, delineated from the parking lot with a concrete retaining wall and handrail. There are 2 accessible parking spaces provided in the parking area off of Main Street. An alley exists between the existing building and the abutting rail trail property, providing access between these parking areas. And there is an existing pylon sign located in the southwest corner of the property, right where Danny is indicating. That pylon sign, the existing sign is approximately 13.5 feet in height right now, 10 feet to the bottom of the sign, and then the existing sign itself is 3.5 feet tall by about 7 feet wide. The applicant is proposing to change the use of the existing building from a banking facility to a Domino's, specifically a Domino's establishment. And I have some thoughts about that discussion about how we can kind of make this compliant to your bylaws without jumping through a lot of hoops. I'll kind of go into that after the narrative, if that's all right. The Park Street curb cut, we're proposing to reduce that to a single 24-foot wide entrance with 30-foot curb radii, kind of as shown on the next sheet. The existing light pole closest to Park Street would be relocated into that new grassed area. And the second light in the middle of the parking lot would be removed. And our thought is to provide a light on the building that would make up for that eliminated light in the middle of the parking lot. The existing concrete wall and handrail along the former drive-up ATM would be removed, and the parking area regraded to meet the grade of the remaining parking lot. The Park Street parking lot would be restriped to provide 12 parking spaces, along with an 18 by 22 foot wide area for dumpsters in the northeast corner. That's in the top right corner of the plan. That's kind of hatched off. We would have I believe, that's 6 yard. 2 6-yard dumpsters in that location. The south.
Just
Yes.
a moment, Frank, sorry. What you've got up on the screen, that's your C 2.0, right?
That is sheet C 2.0, I believe. Yes. Stop flipping through things. And the southwest corner of the Park Street parking lot would be left as snow storage. That's that. So if you go up right there, there's a hatched area that the way the geometry of fitting the parking spaces in and the new entrance, that was left as kind of a dead zone where cars would be interfering if we put more parking there. So I propose to use that as snow storage. It's possible that we could make that green space as well, but I thought in my initial thoughts for the layout, I thought that snow storage, paved snow storage, was some of the best use there.
Mm-hmm.
The Main Street parking lot, we would continue to provide 2 accessible parking spaces there, and those would be restriped in compliance with current regulations. Right now, they're not quite striped correctly, so we would have those repainted. The applicant intends to designate the 4 parking spaces adjacent to the dumpster area as employee parking. So those four of those up top there would be employee. And additionally, the existing alley would be designated with signage as employee and delivery access only. So we don't really intend for someone to pull in for the public to pull in off Main Street unless they need those accessible parking spaces. Otherwise, we're looking to have the main entrance to the facility off Park Street. There's no internal seating at the Domino's. Instead, it will be a pickup and delivery model similar to other Domino's establishments. The restaurant will use all existing utility connections, and an internal grease trap will be installed in the kitchen, so that there's no need for any kind of external one on the sewer service. We ultimately end up with a reduced amount of impervious surfaces on the property. My initial plan for drainage was to provide a 3-foot wide curb cut adjacent to the snow storage area, and then have runoff flow to the existing gutter on Park Street. But I have some comments from the DPW about that, where we'll be addressing that with the existing structures on site. The proposed curb line on Park Street has been configured such that the curb along Park Street can be removed and reset to accommodate the future MassDOT improvements for this area, without impacting the parking that's constructed in the parking lot itself. So that curbing, as is illustrated on I have a MassDOT tie-in plan. We can make our layout work inside of our parking lot, while the curbing along Park Street itself is removed and reset to accommodate the proposed MassDOT improvements. There's I believe a bike lane, sidewalk, that can all be accommodated without us having to do work inside of the property, if that ever comes along. I believe is 2025-ish is the current projection, or
28,
29, okay.
They're looking to move it up, but.
Yep, understood. And the applicant intends to keep the Main Street entrance open after those improvements are constructed, for the accessible parking and to facilitate deliveries. And I received the MassDOT layout information in a meeting with Danny, Matt Hernan, and Charlie, I believe, was there? Yep. Yeah. So we had discussed those. They had provided me with the current, I believe it's 25% design plan for the intersection. I overlaid that on our design and was able to massage the curbs enough where we wouldn't have impacts on our site from that proposed improvement. Because as you all know right now, and as I've said, it's a sea of pavement for the parking lot right on to Park Street. So there's not a lot of access to MassDOT roadways like that. Jumping to the comments received from the
You read my mind,
from
sir.
the zoning enforcement
I
officer
ask you
first.
if you had, because I know it was October 3rd. I wanted to ask if you were ready if you had any responses yet.
Yeah, I had received and reviewed them internally, but I hadn't had any opportunity to prepare a formal response.
That's
back
fair.
at that time. So from the zoning enforcement officer, I'll read his comment first. Need verification of heights of both signs from grade, as the freestanding sign shall not exceed 10 feet to the top of the sign, and the sign on building may not exceed 15 feet to top of sign. Also, all deals, advertisements, promotion signs on windows must be inside of glazing, nothing permitted on the outside. As far as the window glazing signs, the applicant agrees to that, sees no issue with that. He was looking to use the existing pylon sign, which, as I measured today, it's 10 feet. The existing sign is 10 feet to the bottom of the sign, and then the top of the sign is 13.5 feet above that. So we're looking to.
The total
The total is 13.5 feet.
13.5 feet above the 10-foot mark.
Correct. Yes. Thank you for that clarification. Yeah, it's a 13.5-foot sign, and the bottom is 10 feet, where the zoning enforcement officer is saying that the freestanding sign shall not exceed 10 feet. So if that's the case, sounds like we would need zoning relief for the sign, or is there a separate
So,
sign?
I have had discussions about with this and Charlie and Mike. Since it is an existing sign, if you're not doing any changes other than just the front of the actual sign, then we believe, at least from the discussions that I've had, it would be permitted. But you would definitely have to talk to Mike and Charlie in your response.
Okay.
To explain. And then at that point, they would give you a formal response back.
Thank you for that. As far as the freestanding sign, we can provide measurements on that. I'm sorry, not the freestanding sign, the building mounted sign. The intent, as was shown in the application package, is to have a Domino's sign on the front, on the Park Street facade of the building, in the triangular part above the entrance. We'll certainly measure that and make sure that complies in our response. I did review the original signage that Santander Bank had there, and they actually had the original signage along the bottom of the facade just above the grass. So yeah, we might consider that after we look at the measurements for that location in response to the signage comment.
Through the chair to Danny, we don't typically get into we see a sign on the plan, but the design of the sign, the approval of the sign, the lighting of the sign, all of that becomes someone else's issue.
Mm-hmm. That goes through the building department.
Or if they need to go to get a variance.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
We're just looking at the fact that it's a sign there.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
If I understand your application correctly, you anticipate then that the traffic would be from two sources: people picking up their pizzas and also your delivery service people. Is that correct? Do you have any rough numbers of anticipated, and if you could divide that out, what you think the anticipated number of trips would be by your delivery services, what the anticipated number of pickups might be?
Yeah, so it's a total guess, right? But we're about 50-50 pickup versus delivery. And we'd be looking at 400 to 500 of either for an average store. So
Per shift?
hour?
no, per week.
Per week?
400
Oh,
to 500 either pickups or deliveries. And that being said, with deliveries, let's say there's 400. That's not 400 trips. That might be 300 trips, 250.
right,
because,
of course, because
Right. So, but I mean, we have stores that are much slower, much busier. It's all.
And so for my notes, is that 800? Like, or you're
So
thinking a total of 400 walk-ins and total deliveries?
So it'd be 800 to 1,000 total.
Okay.
And the split is either 50-50, 60-40.
Yep. Kathleen?
I had a question about delivery. So in the narrative, you mentioned delivery vehicles, and when you were first speaking, that triggered like food delivery, and now you're using delivery in the context of delivery drivers taking away the takeout. When you said that in the Main Street entrance, delivery vehicles would be entering there, did you mean like a supply, like a restaurant supply delivery vehicle, or did you mean your delivery drivers?
Both. Yeah. The intent for pizza delivery vehicles. So for Domino's pizza delivery vehicles, if they were on Main Street, have them make a right and come through. But if they were on the Park Street side, we could have them coming in through that full access entrance.
Can I get, through the chair, can I get some just clarify, you said delivery, so we use a different term for but the pizza delivery going from the store,
Yeah.
from those, when some of those vehicles return, they would come in through the alley?
So my intent would be, when we're leaving, it would be from the Park Street, because that's really a one-way alley right there. I believe we'd have one-way signage, no, delivery
there's-
vehicles only.
There's proposed signage right here for one way.
I understand. My question is, when a delivery vehicle is coming back, dropped off some pizzas, coming back for the next pickup, are they going to come in?
Whichever one's more convenient based upon where they are.
Okay.
So if they're coming from Park Street, it would be Park Street, and if they're coming from Main Street, it would be the right.
So when it says employees and delivery trucks, that would be the employees.
I think we'd probably do some employees and service vehicles, because we have, Coke, Domino's Commissary.
Okay. Thank you.
I got a lot, so.
I'm sure. I may be getting way ahead of us, but I'm just in a general sense. A project of this nature, there's going to be a traffic study. I mean, I anticipate a traffic study. I mean, we'll be looking at, I seem it's almost inevitable. And I wanted to hear thoughts, both from the applicant and from members of the board at the table, about how such a study would be managed, given that we can anticipate significant changes to the intersection coming from Mass DOT. And I just don't know where the cart and the horse are in this situation, how we even begin to think about that.
So, my initial thoughts on that would be that I don't think that the board can take into account the future build out, as that is 5 years from even.
Oh, is it that
Beginning.
far? It's that far?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's 5 years out from even
Okay.
beginning. But
Okay.
It's definitely something that if a traffic study is requested by the board, then that would be taken into account in future build out.
I can go if you want.
Does that, because I don't mean, no offense, I just said, Ken's gonna have a lot of questions, I just wanted to make sure if anyone want to slip one in before Ken, I hope, no offense, I
would like one quick.
just one, go.
So I guess following on to my question, using Nathan's delivery and service vehicles. So if the two handicap spots, there are cars in those spots, is there ample room for a service vehicle to do a turning radius and not block those spots? Likewise, if it's a delivery vehicle, is there enough room there?
A delivery vehicle would pull in through the alley.
It'd pull all the way through.
Yeah, it would pull in all the way through and would not interfere with the accessible parking.
I see. Okay, so only and what about a service truck?
And
They would do the
yeah,
same.
and a service truck would do the same, correct?
And is that like a loading zone where a delivery vehicle might idle in that alley, or do they like pull into some designated spot that's like a hot spot for delivery vehicles?
So there would be, I would think the deliveries would be made in that back alley. I believe there's a.
So when they don't have a delivery come up, they'd be parking. But so we are all about like
And
expediting and stuff. So like soon as we have all kinds of technology, and as soon as our driver pulls in, we know. And a lot of times we just be running out with the next delivery, go. So if they don't have a delivery, they would be parking in a parking spot.
Okay.
When do your actual like deliveries for the restaurant occur? Like
Supply
from the
deliveries.
supply-
So it's 3 times a week. Every town's like Monday, Thursday, Saturday or something like that. And sometimes we put restrictions on them where like you can only deliver after midnight or something like that. And some towns we're in residential area and they're like, you can't deliver after midnight. So they're very respectful with like that. They'll do whatever we need them to do. They have 20 other stores on their truck in this area, so they can make their schedule work based on what works for us.
And then, sorry, last question on this topic. If the handicap vehicle or the vehicle that is in the handicap spot pulls in, all those arrows point northward, I believe. Is the intention that that handicap, the vehicle coming out of that spot also exits via the alley, or do they turn and pull out of Main Street?
A long way.
Okay, and so those delivery vehicles won't be idling in the alley to prevent that?
No.
Okay.
And we could, as a board, add a condition that, when the store is, so that there's no, even if they do park in that area, so that there isn't a conflict of when people would be picking up in that handicap spot and when they're delivering, just so that there's no issues.
Nathan, did you?
Yes. To Frank, if you could, there's some question about where the property line is, and I know that there's some dark lines in some of the drawings. Could you point out the property line, specifically where my concern is on the alley side?
Yes. So the existing property line,
This
yep,
line.
what Danny is flagging there, is here. If we want to move back to back to C2, just so we're not looking at the future mass dot plan. But that's
Next one.
this one is good.
This one's good?
Oh, do we want to look at?
Colored one's better.
Oh, do you want the color one back?
Oh, you want the colored one?
It's better.
All right. So, yeah, the existing property line is this line here, and the existing occupied pavement for as long as there's been a bank here, as far as I know, comes right up to the edge of the curb line for the rail trail here.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'll follow.
I think since it was, I don't think it was that much of an encroachment back when it was a diner, but
Yeah.
So
We're going to assume that they've got adverse possession on that, or a document that shows that?
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. I believe that property was taken by eminent domain by Mark. It may have been. They have the rail trail and 15 feet on each side of it. DCR stops at Groton Street. Mark has all the way down, and they take care of that trail at that area. So I'd be curious if they are considered a butter.
I think it's owned.
It says for the town, but there's been some question about that. I just went through this with a project on the rail trail
Okay.
for an Eagle Scout project. Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes.
We're discussing this as if it's a traditional use of the downtown form-based code district. This is the T6 transect, which has very specific parking regulations, very specific street front regulations. Are all of these going to be asked for in waivers?
So it's a pre-existing non-conforming site. So
Who determines that?
Charlie.
So we went to town meeting and changed our zoning bylaws to create a walkable downtown that was inviting.
Yep. If the applicant was proposing to demolish the building and change the site, then at that point that we would have the ability to have them meet form-based code. But since the existing site is the way it is exists, the building, and then it's grandfathered.
It would have been helpful in the existing condition statement. Okay.
So I just want to follow up on Frank's description of where the property line is. It sounds like that's a significant open question as far as who owns and whether or not typically there's a deeded right-of-way in the deed, right? Is it permitted to drive off the property?
So, based on my discussions with Charlie, because it has been existing that way and has been allowed that way since it's been there, we have to continue to allow it.
Okay. When the adjacent property owner be able to complain?
If the town wanted to complain, yes, I guess. But based on my discussion with, I did discuss this with Carly as well, and I guess this was already known.
Okay. Does the applicant need to secure that legally? Or are they at risk?
I'd like to comment. It's just, if you don't mind.
Ken, go ahead.
I think we need to go, I would recommend that the board ask town council for a decision on this, so we know exactly. I don't want to hear what Charlie thought. I don't want to hear what anyone else thought. I want to go to town council.
Okay.
Because the land has changed hands a number of times. It could very easily be an easement there that was given to these folks, somewhere in the past, but we don't seem to see it. We don't see it on a deed. I think town council needs to look, are you aware of any easement?
So I'm just a tenant, so I wouldn't know anyway.
In our research, our deed research, we did not find.
I looked for it myself.
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
So I think we need town council to tell us, so we can get it behind us, what the story is on that strip that's being used by that landowner for a long time. And clarify where, if the town of Ayer needs to grant it to them or not.
Well,
Or they're taking it by,
that's,
they may not, that's a legal process.
yeah, I know, that's where I
There's
was,
no plan for that.
that's where I was gonna say, it's like, it may have been that since it's
They
been
might have
used.
thought they had use of it, they might have thought this, so I'm requesting that the board advise, I don't know what everyone else thinks, but that's my suggestion on that.
If you're making a motion,
We all have the
sir, I
same
will
notes.
second that motion.
I'll make a motion that the Air Planning Board request the town council give us a decision on the encroachment that's landing on the town of Ayer's land from the 1 Park Street property.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Ken?
Aye.
Julie?
Yes.
Nathan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Chair says aye. So, the last town council.
Yep.
Sorry, I did mean to have a discussion. That is, I think it's advisable to the applicant
Yeah, we all want to get it straightened out.
to know that information.
Did you have questions,
I
Ken?
have a couple of questions.
Very quickly.
Go ahead, Frank.
Would you rather have me go through the DPW comments as well? Because we've just started with the zoning. I didn't know if your comments
I got it.
had something to do with the
DPW.
DPW ones as well.
Yeah, I called the DPW today to talk about their comments and told them I had about 5 or 6 more
Okay.
on my own, so. I mean, it's clear that the DPW comments, that you're gonna revise this 3-foot area of trying to run the water to the street and put in some piping or whatever you have to do for that. And they have 2 recommendations, but we can't enforce recommendations, we have to think about it. And I don't think you're gonna wanna, that's item
Well,
4 and
actually,
5.
You can ask Frank.
You can ask
What do you think about numbers 4 and 5 on that list? Do you have any feedback for us at this point? That would be, number 4, DPW recommends the curb cut on Main Street be closed to eliminate potential traffic conflicts at the Main Street intersection.
This is what was sitting on the table when we arrived
Yes,
at this evening.
yeah, right.
And number 5, and this also came in the kit. DPW recommends replacement of water and sewer service utilities. The sewer service is believed to be a 5-inch clay pipe installed in 1950. The water service is believed to be just as old. So those are the 2 that their recommendations. I was wondering, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but if you had comments, we would take them now.
Good, you should,
As far as number 4 goes, I know that the applicant feels that the curb cut on Main Street is very important for the circulation on the site, and he is looking to maintain that. We did have a meeting with the planner and Mark Hernan from DPW, as well as
Matt Hernan.
Matt Hernan. I was so worried about the last name that I messed up the first one. No, it bothers me. So we had a discussion about that. That was where they presented the future MassDOT plans for the intersection, and we had a correspondence with the tie and bond engineer who I understand is not MassDOT, however, he's their representative on this project. And what he said is that in the email to Matt, which copied Danny and Charlie, that I don't think it's critical to close the Main Street entrance, and MassDOT would not require it to be closed. And then he does go on to say, if it is something that the town wishes to see closed, then we should discuss with MassDOT D3 permits and engineer to see what can be done. I do know that other than the site circulation issues that my client has with keeping it open, we would need to relocate the accessible parking and potentially look at a reconstruction. I would have to check the grades of the existing access to the building itself. Because right now, walk back up, this part of the sidewalk,
This works.
this works grading wise. So, which was part of the reason why we wanted to maintain accessible parking here. All this site works right now. So that's the other big reason that we want to keep that Main Street access open. The Tie and Bond engineer also notes that their preferred concept adds, it says storage, traffic storage on that approach. So there would end up being more distance between the driveway and the crosswalk than is currently provided today. So I don't know if you have that plan.
I don't think they need to see the long one,
Okay.
but yeah, you can see the
Yeah.
extension of where and this would be there's going to be a traffic light here.
Eventually, but that's.
Eventually.
We don't know.
Well, that's part of the 2028, 2029 project.
So you basically, the last end of, the end of their sentence basically says, as long as you provide appropriate signage, that there's no misunderstanding, we can just keep that entrance up.
Yes, and that's our intent. We want to have signage so that it's accessible parking and employee access through and restaurant supply access if they have to come from Main Street. I'm not sure where the main warehouses are and what their routes would be, but I would think they'd be coming from Route 2 down to 2A along Main Street and pulling into the building.
What's your feeling on the water and sewer lines? And just to clarify, Mr. Bell, you're the tenant in the building, but we don't have the owner of the building here tonight.
Right, he's somewhere in different country, and I forwarded those comments to him, and I will tell you so far, through my dealing with him, he's really not looking to do anything to this site, like, as is these improvements I'm taking on, which is not something a tenant would typically do, right? And
Well, by the time you get through, you might be doing a lot more, just keep it in
well,
mind.
yeah, or maybe he might not have a tenant, we'll see, but
Do you have a lease in place now?
we have a lease in place that's
Pending.
pending, it comes active based upon the outcome of planning board.
Keith, if you don't mind my asking, this sounds like this isn't your first comment. Is that correct?
No, I have 22 of them.
And there you go. That's
Or
all.
you gotta think of some evil giant corporate.
No, I
started as a delivery driver 22 years ago, and that's what's great about that.
I wasn't
That's
making
awesome.
any assumptions.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
So I was just curious because it just sounded from the way you're talking that you've been through some of this before.
Through some of this pain. But yeah, he didn't specifically respond to that, but I could tell you it's not on his agenda, so.
I guess the only comment I had on the water and sewers, they recommend it, and I guess I would agree with it. I'd like to see the recommendation happen because it's prudent for the town to be, have the best sewer and water that we can have, to a building. But it does, I don't know if we have to go to DPW for that, and we have to go to Board of Health, and we have to go to the sewer department, or whatever it is, so it's not really, we can't stop anything for that.
It's not something the DPW can
They
lean on
just
the
have to
owner to
make,
do?
if it works, they may require testing. I think I would, in our conditions, I think I would at least require that the sewer be cambered and it be tested, the existing line, to make sure there's no deficiencies in the line between the building and the street in particular. So just keep that in mind as a condition. That's prudent business anyway.
And by the time my lease came active, I mean, if something was wrong,
You'd
right,
have
it's
to
on the
fix it.
landlord to.
Yeah, you gotta fix something like that.
Kind of the way it is right now, it's, if I go through planning board, you know, whatever I gotta do to get through planning board, it's on me, and then afterwards.
Okay, so I'd just like to go on to some questions on the drawings, if I could, on the plan.
Please do.
Which page you want?
So it's gonna mostly be on the colored sheet that you
Sure.
put it back up. So some of the things that I'll talk about quickly were some of the things Jonathan already brought up, but I think we're gonna end up talking about a traffic impact statement. One of my disappointments on this, Frank, was that your layout and grading plan on the right side up there does not show the existing contours, which is one of our requirements. And they're supposed to be in 2-foot grades. That helps the planning board, it helps myself to be able to see how water sheds off the site.
I can show that, yes.
Yeah, please do.
Definitely has to be there.
Yeah, my intent with that, I was looking at it as a parking grading plan, which quite often, we give the contractor doing the work, they don't care about the contours.
I care about it.
I understand that, but they care about the top of curb, bottom of curb, and
Yeah,
the
can figure out the rest.
locations of the curbs more than the contours themselves.
I think a big part of what we see here, where you're gonna tear up part of the parking lot, essentially, you should be showing like hay bale protection as well, and something to the street. Because when you do that work, you're gonna expose all that gravel, which could wash right on the road. So I'd be expecting some kind of a note about protection, temporary protection for the site. So with no contours, did we talk about as a board, or are we interested in?
If I may, Ken, I do have silt sacks called out on the existing conditions and demolition plan. And I can,
I was looking for it on the other.
nope, it was on the existing conditions and demolition plan.
Okay, cool.
And I can certainly add some kind of straw bale there along the property line.
Thank you. That's good. So, are we gonna talk about whether we're gonna require a minor stormwater permit or some kind of stormwater permit, since we're shedding the water, right?
Yeah, so
wondering.
we actually talked to Matt and the DPW about that. Since technically they're under the 20,000 square feet, it doesn't trigger a minor.
Does it?
No.
Okay.
Under how many square feet?
20,000.
So Frank, when you go back to that, what is the other one? The plan
The
that's,
color one?
no, the one that's next to it, to the right of the color one. It's still
Grading plan.
2.0.
This one?
Yeah, that one. That cutout that you put there, how do you intend to address that?
So-
Water's running into
Yep.
that corner, clearly
Yeah,
across
so-
the site.
Based on the DPW comments, and then as I was thinking about it after the fact, I would be my plan is to
Put a
connect
catch basin in
into,
there.
yeah, some kind of catch basin or trench drain in this area.
Yep.
Preferably a catch basin, I hate trench drains,
I get it, yeah.
but I'm gonna have to check, cover, it might end up being like a drain inlet. That's basically a catch basin that doesn't have an existing sump.
You got it.
It's just the grate and pipe out.
The intention would be that the
connecting
next one would
into.
clean it up, the next catch basin. would
Correct,
clean.
yes, and I would find where this one is going, and then it goes into the town system, I'm assuming.
Now, while you're there, see the grade number on that drawing right where you're pointing, not that one on the street, but the one to its right, that says
Yes.
239.
232.
232.3. 23.
Okay, 232.
Yeah, that would have been something, huh?
That would have, yeah, that,
Exactly.
so, and.
So
the
anyway,
reason-
it is a low spot, is what we're getting at. That's the
So,
low spot.
it is a site low spot, so if you look at the general grades, I've got
Going that way.
a 233.80, 233.64, 232.23, so the parking is coming this way. I'll add the contours. Do we have them on the existing conditions plan? Because we're,
No.
No, I
don't
got rid
believe
of
so.
them completely. All right, understood.
Yes, they are.
The contours in there?
Oh, no, never mind.
No.
Nope, I'm
Didn't
reading
think so.
the,
No, I have,
perimeter ones.
yep, I will make sure that that's added as part of this.
Okay, so now, if to go to the colored plan would be nice. Okay, so let's get back to the parking and the question that Kathleen asked. So the project is requesting 6 parking spaces for the building because of 0 seating.
Correct.
And 4 parking spaces, I would say 4 or 6 up there.
That's
So-
8.
So that's
Oh,
parking
no, no,
spot
no,
8, so I have, in my parking count, 1
Okay.
through 5,
6,
6,
7,
7, 8 through 12.
Okay, so 4 over there,
5 up top.
5 up top.
5 up top.
2.
So service vehicles, when they're running in and out in they come in, are just gonna park in the middle of the lot someplace. There's no designated spot for them, is what I'm getting at. They're not gonna land in handicap, they're not gonna land in employee. They're not gonna land in visitors or clients, or whatever you wanna call them, customer.
A
They're
delivery.
just gonna still land in the parking lot somewhere.
So if they
Why
don't have a
we just figure a
delivery,
place where they're gonna land and put a couple spaces?
if they don't have a delivery, they'd just be parking in a parking spot.
We're talking delivery trucks bringing.
No,
Oh,
no,
you're
I'm
talking-
talking about the
Pizza
the
delivery
vans,
trucks.
the vans that go back and forth. How many did you run in a lot? 4?
2 to 4, depending on the night.
So there should be a combination
So
somewhere in there.
what we could probably designate with gore striping as maybe a delivery vehicle idling area
Something like that.
that's up out of the way. The original intent, before we realized that we needed to address the Park Street access, was to utilize the ATM as
The little landing area.
as a landing area for the delivery vehicles. So
Okay.
delivery vehicles would come in, pull in, stop, be handed the pizzas that they would have to
Got it.
deliver, and then go. We've since
Not the drive, but it would-
scrapped that idea, given what we've needed to do for the changes to the frontage along Park Street.
Okay,
But we can certainly designate
just
an area.
just a quick comment that I shouldn't be doing this miniature stuff, but you're showing the new work of the pavement in line with what the existing retaining wall was outside the ATM. But that grade change is substantial. That cut is gonna be much deeper into the parking lot when you do that work. This is a
So-
big drop off right here.
That's what this
You're
is.
just gonna
So-
lower this whole
So
thing.
we're cutting, yeah, so this grade line here,
Okay, and just drop the whole thing.
that's the existing grades, yeah, so the intent is to take out that
I know what you're trying to do.
retaining wall, handrail, and drop that to
Everything
grade.
down.
Yes,
Okay, so that'll work when you're done with that.
yes.
Thank you. So here's the big question. So
No, it's okay. When you're done.
so you can see we have greened out the area that's existing in front of the building right now. This is the grass area that's
Yes.
here. And I can see that you were kind enough to color in the other one's green. But my real question is, who's gonna build the sidewalk? Are you guys gonna build? We're asking people now to walk off the existing sidewalk into a landscaped area, and then through the landscaped area, back across the new driveway into another landscaped area? Or aren't we building a sidewalk for these people? Right there, you gotta,
So this is to explain why.
because it's in the.
It's because of the Mass DOT project is going to be having sidewalks put up there. So Matt did not want, so DPW did not want to make them responsible for the work that they're
It
responsible
would
for.
ultimately be ripped out.
I don't care if it's,
So,
we don't know if that's gonna
yeah, wait a
happen.
minute.
No,
I have
it is,
idea.
no, we do.
No,
It's in the tip, it's already been scheduled. Yes, but we know it's going to
What we do know
happen.
now is people walk down a sidewalk,
Yeah.
and you're gonna ask them to walk off the sidewalk through a vertical granite curb,
Yeah.
through a lawn. That's not gonna work.
Right.
We can't approve. I
There's
can't-
no sidewalk there now.
People will just go.
That's okay.
But there's a paved area to walk through, very safely. People just walk right through it, every day of the week.
So
here's
we're looking
can I have
for, excuse me for a second. I understand that this is pre-existing and non-conforming and not gonna have to follow the
Right.
form-based code. Okay? Because of the building and the parking lot. But because there may be a future sidewalk, we're not going to require a sidewalk. We're going to put our pedestrians right out in the street there. They want to walk to the pharmacy.
That's what
Oh,
we're planning.
I'm going to go have breakfast at Wake and Bake, and I'm going to go to the pharmacy and pick up my stuff. I got to get in my car and drive. That's not the intent of the form-based code.
We'd be better off, in this case, of leaving, just put in a minor amount of granite curb and returning it on itself in here, than you would be to do all of this stuff and let people just continue to walk right by the front.
So can I explain why?
Then then they can come around later and do their whole thing.
So this was a suggestion that myself and Matt and Dan came to, because we wanted to close up that giant opening.
I know.
And we felt,
You are.
but they're not responsible for doing that. They don't have to do that. We requested, they don't, because it's an existing use, they could leave it as it is. We requested for them to do this for us so that we could close that down. And we did not want to make them responsible for adding in a sidewalk when we're going to rip that up again and put in a different setup and a different location of a sidewalk. That was our suggestion when we requested that. We wouldn't make them responsible for that because we wanted to close that down.
You understand?
They
I'm trying to
suggest,
make it easier on
yeah,
them.
and I understand what you're saying, but
I'm trying to make it easier on them right now.
what they're going to say is, well, if they might just, anyways, I'm not going to speak for them. but-
Mr. Chair, may I?
This is burn right
May I?
now.
Hold on.
When he's done.
This is burn. Right?
Interior would be berm, exterior would be granite curb, correct?
So, all I'm saying is,
Jeff?
So, if I recall earlier, we were talking about somewhere between 800 and 1,000 trips to this establishment to get food.
A week.
50-50 walking, 50-50 driving. We're not going to give them a sidewalk to walk to the building.
No,
they're driving.
50-50.
Everyone's driving.
99.999% of the customers are busy.
Then I misunderstood what you said.
It's
So we're
50
looking at 1,000 vehicle trips
Yeah.
a week. They don't need a sidewalk, right?
That's right, 50% deliveries, 50%.
I think it's not, I think it doesn't meet the master plan's underlying view that we have a walkable downtown. Form-based code gives us a walkable downtown. We have a building on the, we're going to turn the pharmacy into an island. We're going to have a negative impact upon another business by cutting off the ability to walk to it.
We're not just pulling
So
curves.
I would hope that you would think hard about that.
Yeah, I know,
I appreciate that the professionals in town may have come up with this idea, but let's think about the people who live here.
I know that the applicant's preference
Is to do nothing.
would be to not do anything here,
This is empty.
with the understanding that in the future, MassDOT was coming through and reworking things.
Yeah.
We could propose a reconfiguration and a restriping of the parking lot, possibly with some wheel stops or something that would maintain this walking access. Because right now, what this sidewalk does is you have somewhat of a curb cut here,
Yeah.
and then it comes,
It's a
and then it
handicap
comes.
access.
What's that?
Cut for handicap access.
Well, I would dispute that.
It's a wrong pitch, but
right.
it's there for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But- and then once you get to where it stops,
Just becomes paved.
it's a curb stop. It's a curb with no ramp or anything.
Yeah.
And then it becomes pavement.
Right.
I mean, because
So what I'm saying-
the applicant is looking to do a significant amount of work based on the approval from the planning board for the project.
Wait a minute.
Part of the understanding is that there's going to be a lot of rework of that potentially once MassDOT comes through with the project. I mean, if we, what we could, so it's not as bad as
No, it's
a picture.
It's pretty easy to walk right through this.
stripe it as a sidewalk.
I mean,
Yeah, listen, I want to do as little as possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay? I don't want to spend money on this.
Design it to pinch it Danny and still get the same result. To leave something away for people to walk by.
And-
You know, we have a Halloween downtown, and you're basically turning the pharmacy into an island.
I mean,
It's crazy how many kids walk around with their parents.
You could just,
Jeff,
could you
I
erect
think
it?
the pharmacy is not the direct, I don't think the pharmacy is the direct abutter.
It's
There's-
the next,
No, but
one
it's
of
the
next
next,
ones.
it's the next
Yeah,
occupied building
These,
down.
Yeah,
these
yeah.
are,
Yeah, we're
these are
cutting
currently
all those
vacant,
guys.
and the pharmacy's the next one up.
The owner's sitting right here in the audience.
Yeah. You know, it's like, yes, that telephone pole between the two properties is in the wrong place. That I can live with until DOT, if they have funding in 5 years. I mean, money's down in the Commonwealth right now.
There is an
We don't have
overhead
funds
cable,
in
you
it.
can see to the, you mentioned everything.
Oh,
but
you know what, I thought it was, you're right,
There's at least, I'm not sure if there's power or telephone.
there is a drop, yeah.
Might just be an alarm system. Who knows?
Who knows?
It could have
But
been the
There might
back
be a fire alarm
system.
going across the street.
Yeah, because right now, you can walk around that corner. You can go all the way down that side of the street, past the second auto parts store.
Yeah.
And then you cross over and you have sidewalk all the way down to Shop and Save.
You need to go back to the colored plan.
We are horribly under
So,
ambulatory in this town.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
No,
sir.
can we,
on-
can we
on
just
my Google Maps
say
it
that the
The
board,
Oh, on Arnhem
the
Street,
board,
sorry.
it sounds like the board opinion is leaning towards pedestrian access along Park Street must be maintained.
Can't we just do it this way? Not the designer.
No, you know,
This is an island. Take the granite curb, run it right across this edge, delineating the edge of the sidewalk and just leaving it paved the way it is. And then create whatever you want for the parking. This is an island.
that's
This
some
is
kind
a-
of similar teardrop island.
Like you separate traffic when now it's standing on its own, but it's got a wing that comes down this way. This moves over here
The,
to the edge of his property, closer to the property line.
That's snow storage in the upper left corner.
Yes.
this is snow storage here.
Yeah.
This is, a
Dumpster, yeah.
dumpster area,
There's plenty of room.
on the high point of the site.
While you're putting me ask one question, we talked about delivery vehicles. I'm assuming the commissary delivers in some sort of truck,
Yes.
tractor trailer?
They have a fleet of vehicles, from a box truck to 48 foot, 54 foot, so whatever
Okay, so we're
they
looking at
need
any,
to
yeah,
deliver to that site.
so anywhere from a box truck around 26 feet up to a full tractor trailer,
Any radius,
which
if
is
it's a
72
big
feet long, 53 plus the cab.
So that was
So-
one of our comments was.
There's no loading dock,
You gotta go
call
to
it here?
No. No.
How is material brought in and out of the building?
Let's get through this first.
Oh, I'm sorry. We were talking delivery vehicles. I just wanted to make sure we
So-
we distinguish between delivery vehicles. I thought they were also talking about commissary trucks.
I
Okay,
just think
go ahead.
I think it would be really difficult for us to show that construction and cut off the sidewalks that they're not guessing. It's gonna happen in the future, but you know how long things take. And for 5 years, having to answer people, oh, it's gonna be built 5 years from now, we'll put your sidewalk back. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. I think we
Agreed.
have to figure out a way to let that pedestrian traffic, well, we're obligated to do that, I think, as a board. We have to keep pedestrian traffic in mind. And pinch it, so just tweak it. It's an easy fix to come up with a design. I don't think it's that hard.
Understood. And the reason I have the 30-foot radii and the granite curb
Trucks
and, trucks, and it's a MassDOT
requirement.
requirement for, if we're doing any kind of island and any changes to this frontage access to the property, that triggers some of the MassDOT requirements for a highway access permit,
Mhm.
which includes 30-foot radii, granite curbs, the 24-foot width, and ensuring that these 30-foot radii terminate in front of your frontage. So you can't have a 30-foot curve, which is what I have here.
Yep.
But you couldn't have a 30-foot radius curb line that goes an inch past your frontage. You can't encroach on someone else's frontage with your curb lines. So
You mean the abutting property?
the abutting property,
Mhm.
yes. So if I'm doing any kind of island here, I need a full 30-foot curb radius, which is this distance and that distance. Anything else, and we wouldn't get a highway access permit from MassDOT. So it's either something similar to this,
Mm-hmm.
or we maintain the existing opening until such time that MassDOT puts in the new curb line and sidewalk, and we make sure that our parking works with a future, whatever that future access is. So I
If we
would think,
move the entire set thing in, about 4 feet this way, everything 4 or 5 feet in.
then we lose at least one parking space.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But you got a lot of spaces over here that you're not using.
Correct, because for vehicle access,
I'm gonna have to go figure it out, so.
this
Well,
this
I
area
think
is this area is not parkable.
You're saying go figure it out, but he's already given you the options, and these are what we've already
That's
discussed
not an option.
prior to coming.
That's not an option.
Well,
We're not gonna take away a sidewalk.
I understand what you're saying. So what I'm saying, so what I'm telling you is, he's saying this is the option that works. If you're saying do something different, they're not going to propose anything.
We
I'd like to propose that we do nothing, just to be clear.
Right.
But I was told that we had to do something.
Yes, we requested this from them, but if the board does not want this, then they can revert back to not having anything.
Or what we could do is some a little more of a hybrid, so it's not the Wild West that it is now, where we have we maintain the access
I just walked.
Sorry.
along the town frontage. I have some kind of parking delineation, whether it's a bituminous. It froze.
Keep going, Frank.
Okay, whether it's some kind of bituminous curb or curb stops, something.
Oh.
Yep, something along that curb line.
I'm just gonna listen to Frank. Max has his job covered. Sorry, Frank.
That's all right. Thank
Oh, is
you. I've had worse Zoom issues in the past recently. So I could propose some kind of parking protection so that people aren't pulling across the sidewalk across the whole frontage.
Yeah, agreed.
And delineate something in that manner.
Mhm.
That's certainly a possibility that I can look at with my client.
Does anyone else have a feeling about the sidewalk?
I can't agree with you more, Mr. Diskin.
Keep the sidewalk. I love calming the traffic down. Frank's got homework. We'll see you next time on this. See what you come up with next time. That's my.
Hypothetically, would the
So when you talked about the curb being removed by later in the future, was that the section of curb you were talking about? There was supposed to be a loose fit or some sort of.
yeah,
thing
so
about the
so this granite curbing, what they can do is, you saw cut the pavement out, and you can pull the curbing out and reset it and reuse it for the future MassDOT installation. I've done that in a number of towns.
Even though
It's easy with granite.
it's
That's
like 15-inch, 6 by 15, something
Yes.
like that.
Yep.
And it's gonna be surrounded by 3,000-pound PSI concrete.
Yep.
Put it in the right way, but then take it out later.
Put it in the right way, and you can take it out the right way and put it in the right way again. That's the great
Okay.
thing about granite curb.
Thank you. I know.
One of the great
I
things.
think we're getting pretty deep in the weeds. I think we want to, for today, I think we really
Sidewalk,
want
big
to,
deal.
I think we want to get the big stuff. And is the consensus
Well, I
that
mean,
we're
like,
interested in?
I understand Ken should raise these questions so that
Yeah.
at the next meeting.
Of course.
Because we don't, so, I mean, I think let's continue, let's let Ken continue.
And one,
So is the consensus that we're looking for some means of maintaining pedestrian access around, right? That's what we're looking for? Is that what the takeaway, the client, if applicant walks away, that's the understanding?
That's my understanding.
That's my understanding. Nathan's nodding his head.
do we want a motion? I was just about to ask that. If
I don't know if it rises to the
Move
occasion
that
of
the
a.
applicant maintain pedestrian access going north between the building, the line with the front of the building, and the next property. Along Park Street.
Is it a motion?
Is that a motion?
It's a motion.
It's a motion.
Move that the applicant design pedestrian a pedestrian walkway of some sort that goes from the north edge of the building along Park Street to the next property, AKA a
Second.
sidewalk.
Second.
Second, further discussion?
Yes. Maintain, I'd say, strike design, say maintain the
Maintain
Pedestrian.
pedestrian access.
Sorry?
As long as they
maintain,
maintain pedestrian,
Along Park Street, on the front of it, yeah. I mean, I don't know how to word it, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all in the same boat. Let's just
Okay.
get it written
Figure it
down.
I think I understand the.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Ken?
aye.
Julie?
Yes.
Nathan?
aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Okay, so I guess that's it for me, thank you.
Thanks.
So, Mr. Chair,
I can stay up here if anyone else has any other.
Go ahead,
I
Nathan.
don't think it's about this.
Oh, go ahead.
Parking, and you can help me out, Danny, because I think in commercial projects, parking is rather subjective to the use. So should there be more, should there be less? Is this up to the applicant based on their needs?
No, so they did provide a proposed parking table and everything on here. It does meet, they have more than what would be necessary, but they have a breakdown right here.
Yeah. And so let me just ask.
So they're providing, oh, sorry.
Yeah. So if the use is restaurant, that's accepted. What is the required parking?
So they're basing it off of a restaurant,
Okay, so
Yeah.
so how is parking determined on a restaurant?
per seat,
And,
Yeah.
and.
or by square footage.
Well, no, it's per seat and square footage of gross kitchen floor
I
area.
just asked this so that the board understands the question you're
Sure.
asking
Yes.
and what are the underlying.
Yeah, so it's shown right here.
Yeah.
So
And-
one per 4 seats and one per 300 square feet of gross kitchen floor area.
If I may, this does dovetail into some of my thoughts about the use of this property. Now, I was talking to my applicant when you were having your discussion before the hearing was opened, and he said to me that a lot of times towns look at this use as something like a bakery because they're bringing in they're bringing pizzas in, cooking them on site, and selling them that way. And bakery is a retail use in your zoning. It is permitted under the zoning table for this district. And a retail use in this manner would require a minimum of 3 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet of building, which works out to 8 required parking spaces. And again, we have 14 spaces provided. So if we looked at our, and I didn't write down the reference, Danny, I'm sorry, but it, 5.3 there, retail store, bakery, antique shop.
Mhm.
That is a permitted use in the FBC. So we could approach the use in that manner that continues to have us that kind of eliminates the question as to whether or not it's a restaurant.
Could you go
I
back
think
to the
that makes it
previous
harder,
slide?
just
Actually, Frank,
with your
I'm gonna-
guns.
if I may.
Yes.
If I may.
stick with your guns.
What about these words right here?
Restaurant.
Restaurant, cafe, tavern,
That's it.
comma, other food service establishment.
Yeah.
Does that have any weight here in this discussion at all?
But
Other
they
food
didn't
service
apply-
establishment?
They didn't apply as another food service establishment. They applied as a restaurant.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And if I
The
may.
application said other food service establishment. Maybe, who knows?
And the restaurant definition does specifically say, restaurant does not include an establishment that operates exclusively or principally as a caterer, a food processing establishment, I'd assume that would be a bakery of some sort, a retail food store, or a takeout food service establishment, nor does it include drive-through service.
Can I ask a
That's
question?
that's what we're up against.
Yes.
So if I can ask a question, how many seats does constitutes a restaurant?
That's a really good
No,
discussion.
two. It's gotta be one handicap
I will
accessible one.
That's a really good, that's
I
what,
have stores with seating. I'll put in whatever many seats you need to make this work. It's
That could be an option as well.
I appreciate the offer, but it goes on to say, the sentence before that, a restaurant may include blah, 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 or the taking of food and drink from the building as incidental. So an incidental use is accompanied but not a major part of something. That's right out of.
I can't dictate how people are going to eat at
That's
a
from
restaurant.
Oxford. It is in our bylaw. So it is, this is why I brought it up. This is something that got missed along the way. Can we get back to a question about delivery vehicle, about?
Oh, good.
Just quickly on that, so he's suggesting that he would provide seating in his restaurant, so that would answer your question and.
If there's 1,000 a month, so I would like to see the numbers that show that the seating, that the delivery is not necessarily incidental.
I can't show you numbers on something
Yeah.
that doesn't exist. Though.
Okay. Again, this is not a conversation. I believe that there's an impasse on this one. I'm not really willing to put time into it right now. I want to ask some questions about the plan we were just looking at, if I may.
And
Colored?
there has been a motion to discuss the restaurant question with town council.
Yeah.
No, we didn't say that.
Oh, I thought there,
Town council was the,
The land.
Town
the land,
council-
oh, jeez.
Town council is.
Yes.
Charlie was the other one.
Access,
Charlie was.
Under-
the access, the encroachment on the March land,
Right, that's what that is for town.
or on the town's land.
Right.
That's actually a
Thank you.
fascinating question. Would town meeting grant an easement?
So are there what I'd like,
I did have another question about this, if I may, to bring us back to this. I'm sorry, did you get you
Yes.
asked about parking? Yes. So, you mentioned Coke, or whomever your beverage provider is, and the commissary is going to provide, so basically, you're storing food, you're storing prepared food in the business, and making pizzas out of it, and whatever else products you sell, and selling, and deliver, and some delivery force is taking out of that. How does the food get to you? You said a box truck, anything up to a tractor trailer.
So we have two companies that service us. It's Coke
Yeah.
for our soda, and it's Domino's Commissary for everything else we sell.
Okay.
So it comes to us through that. They bring us the fresh dough and then the ingredients, and then we make them. We get deliveries 3 times a week, and we assemble the product.
And how is the delivery going to happen on that property?
The thought was that they would enter Main Street and
Mhm.
circulate through the parking lot. And like I said, they have a fleet of vehicles for whatever situation they have to meet to deliver there. So if a 48-foot truck doesn't fit there, they'll bring their box truck, which, whatever that is, 26 feet, and that certainly fits.
Yeah, so they basically bring the vehicle that fits.
Correct.
And it's just going to sit in the parking lot while it's unloaded.
Correct.
Imagine it's a lift gate, and guys going to use, and you've got people using two-wheelers, stuff like that.
They come on carts.
They come on carts.
They come on a cart, and we'll have like 3-4 carts come in, and then stacks of dough, which are 2
They
foot
just
by
get
3
rolled
foot.
into
Get
a
rolled
walk-in
into a
fridge
cooler
or
and
something
they're
like that. Okay.
Generally, are those, I would assume those deliveries are done outside of the proposed hours of operation?
So
You kind of dictate that, or?
we can dictate it. So like in this case, if that was going to block that lane, I would say you can only deliver between the hours of 11 and overnight or whatever.
And I thought I saw somewhere.
We do have proposed hours of operation.
That's what I was
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
ask.
so proposed hours of operation, we have Sunday to Thursday, 10:30 a.m. to 12 a.m., and then Friday to Saturday, 10:30 a.m. to 1 a.m.
So it's 10:30 in the morning to midnight, 10:30 in the morning till 1 hour after midnight.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought I saw them somewhere.
if the board members don't have any further comments, I'd like to open up for public questions or comments. Hello?
Hi.
I just wanted to ask the two of you if you
Yeah,
have any comments or
I had a
questions.
speech I wanted to go over, a couple things I want to say.
Okay, so if you come up, if we can pull a chair for the gentleman. And then I'm going to ask you, sir, to introduce yourself, your name and your address.
Yes. Hi, so I'm Corey Pedrosian. I live at 28 West Street, Unit 4B currently, and I've been living there for 2 years as of right now. And I wanted just to say a couple things about why I think this business should not be put into place. So as a butter to the proposed Domino's, I'm against construction of this establishment. We already have too many pizza-focused establishments in this area, and I'm just going to say generally in the area and also as it affects me. We have a couple businesses that would be greatly impacted by this. Mainly I'll just list them off and where they're located, just town. Verona Pizza and Seafood is on Park Street as well, in Ayer. Junction RPD, also in Ayer. Cod Restaurant, also in Ayer. And the Shoba Club and Pizza Tap Room, that's also in Ayer. Those are 4 businesses right downtown already. We also have more businesses located in 5-mile radius. We have Lazy Mary's, that's also in Ayer. Sorrento's, Harvard, Devon's Pizza and Deli, Ayer. Pizza Bella, Devon's, Shirley Sub Shop, Shirley, Village Pizza, Shirley, Groton House Pizza, that's in Groton, Bruno's Pizza, Groton, Pizza Express and more, Littleton. So that's a little bit further down the road. But those are 13 businesses that already exist and are already pizza focused in this area that we already have. I don't think we need any more, because if we bring this Domino's, it's also going to put those existing businesses at risk of going out of business in those places that we already enjoy and love. So I just feel that this is not the right business for this location, and it's also, it's a spot that's already too busy and doesn't need any more. You guys already mentioned the traffic increase. It's definitely going to be a factor that we're going to have a light at this intersection. That's going to be kind of a big problem for a lot of people that commute every day in this area. It may need to happen anyways, but I don't want it to be happening because of the Domino's going in. It's just something that is going to affect my commute and my daily life, and I don't think that Domino's should dictate that. It's also going to increase my taxes. I'll have to pay for this, so I don't want to pay for something that shouldn't happen unless, you know, it's something that the town needs to do, and I don't think the Domino's should force that. It's also going to cause more DoorDash, Uber Eats drivers, delivery drivers they mentioned that they're going to have. It's going to cause congestion. It's going to also cause people to potentially park on West Street, which is right next to where I am, and I just don't want people to be clogging up that area constantly when I'm trying to just live my life and do the things I need to do. Also with the sidewalk, that's something I utilize just to, if I want to go to Dunkin' Donuts, I have to walk through that sidewalk and go across that intersection. If they're going to remove that, that's not going to be acceptable. I need to be able to get there safely and not get hit by a car. So that's just something that I think needs to be the way it is, can't be changed. Noise and loitering, this is something I've been thinking about as well, is that I live next to the parking garage already. It's very noisy during some times of the day. And also, it's just sometimes there's people that hang around and make a lot of noise, you know. So I don't really bother with the police, but it's just sometimes they get a little noisy and you're kind of thinking, you know, this should kind of stop. So having the Domino's there will increase the amount of people that will be in this area, and also maybe littering and such, I don't know, but it's just something that could happen as a potential. So it's just going to cause more traffic, more people at all times of the day. And based on the times that they said this is going to be open, there's going to be people going to this Domino's until very late in the evening. This is going to affect my sleep schedule because there's going to be people making noise right next to my house all the time, and I just don't see that being sustainable. If anything, this business needs to close at 10 p.m. It cannot be going any later than that. Most businesses in Ayer are open around till like 10:30, I'd say is the latest I've seen on average. It just can't be open too late because it's just going to be too much of a disruption in my life. And just as an outro, just kind of in general, I just want to say that I don't like to support chains. Unless it's something that, you know, like a Dunkin' Donuts, it's just something that's kind of there as convenience. That's how it is. You don't do it unless you actually have to. I'm a former resident of Andover, Massachusetts, and I was there for 20 plus years. I really appreciate towns that focus on local business and success of them, and encourages local businesses to take over the main parts of town. Andover specifically, for example, has mainly local businesses in the downtown area. There is a Domino's in Andover already, and it's off of actually Park Street as well, which is interesting. And that's off the main area. So Main Street has very few chains. There's only like a Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's. That's it across the whole town mainly. So, and Starbucks as well mentioned. But it's just, that's the main focus of the town, is to preserve the Merrimack Valley feel. We want to keep that here in Ayer as well. So I've always enjoyed businesses like Marco's on Main, Sorrento's, Osawa. These are places where I go in, the people know who I am, and I love being there. So I don't think a Domino's is going to fit that same criteria of being a place that I'll be a local there. I want to go in and go enjoy. It's just, as you said, it's going to be takeout. There's not going to be a person you're going to know at the door. It's not going to be any friendly kind of exchange. It's just not a place that's going to be welcoming. So overall, I just say that we should transition this business to be, this location should be put for a local business, not a corporate chain. We don't need more corporate chains in Ayer. We already have Subway, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Wendy's, Taco Bell. Those are already here. They're sustaining the need that people need for fast food. There's a Domino's at Pepperell. People really want Domino's. That's nearby. And there's probably another one nearby in Leominster as well. I didn't check yet, but there probably is more. So I'm just saying we don't need this Domino's. It's going to be hurting the community and taking away more than it's going to help us. So that's just what I wanted to input as well, and I appreciate your time and bringing me on.
Mr. May I first? Pedrosian, is that?
Bedrosian.
Pedrosian. First of all, I just want to thank you for speaking up and sharing your concerns. Is it okay if I clarify a couple of things?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of it being a pizza establishment, we already have a lot of pizza establishments. That consideration's entirely outside of the board's consideration.
I understand.
It's something that, as a comment for the applicant to hear, fine, but as a board, we can't weigh in on that. Our remit is limited to, does the application conform to our laws, bylaws, et cetera, and that's what we're limited to.
Understood.
We can't make judgments on the merit of the business per se. Your comments about traffic were noted, and I think that that's going to be a part of a vigorous discussion about whether or not to have a traffic study and the nature and design of it. So that I can assure you, it will be vigorously discussed. As far as the hours, thank you for bringing it up, and that could be a topic of discussion. Was there anything else that I can possibly?
Can I just
Danny
clarify
will
one
say-
thing?
Yep.
So the traffic light that's there. So and all the traffic improvements that are going to be occurring along this Park Street and Main Street are already being proposed, even if this does or does not go in. So it's something that's already been in the works, and it's already in the future for 28, 29. So it's not dependent on this.
All right,
Just
thank
so
you.
that you know.
It's not 4 dominoes or.
Correct.
Oh, okay, I got you. I was just thinking, because it's not really a lot of businesses at this area that would justify that being there. I know the subway doesn't get as much traffic to justify that.
Yeah, it takes about 9 years to do a traffic jam in Massachusetts.
I got you.
Nathan, did you want to address Mr. Bedrosian?
Again, thank you for bringing up your comments. As you may be aware, form-based code has been accepted in that whole downtown area. And so the town's intent is, especially that property is actually, from what I remember when we adopted form-based code, is the cornerstone of where the form-based code would extend down Main Street, down Park Street. So long term, and I sit in this chair thinking 30 years and 50 years out, I don't think, if there's a Domino's there in 30 years, it's going to be a little storefront, a little glass storefront with 3 condos above it.
Residential above, yeah.
That is I think the town's intent has been demonstrated by adopting that form-based code. So thank you and stick around.
Thank you, Mr. Pedrosian.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did you want to have an opportunity to speak?
Sure.
Come on up.
Let's see that. Ayer Architects.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. For
Name it. Yep.
my name is Ashley Owens. I own Re-Architect. I'm one of the local architects here on Main Street. I also happen to be a 50% owner in Schwoen's Properties, which owns the vacant building next door. We are looking to do the form-based code. We're very excited about that coming into Ayer, and so we actually are looking at doing a 4-story building with the intent that the town, with what the town intended. I am so thankful for you. It takes so much courage to do something like that, so I appreciate that, and the comments, and I think a lot of people kind of feel those same ways. I do have concerns about a more commercial building coming in, like business coming into that space in that way, especially with the residential that, is planned next door. And the traffic that would cause, knowing that is like an extensively busy intersection already. And I know I've been to a lot of the planning meetings about what that is going to be, which is very exciting. It's just sad how far out it is. But I just think that, kind of to what you said, we all look forward to when that is more than just that single-story building, that we can actually have that walkable space. And I appreciate, again, Ken, bringing up the sidewalk, because that was definitely something that jumped out at me with a lot of the plans. Again, that directly to our building where we have the sidewalk, which then gets that cut off if that wasn't maintained as well. So I just wanted to share that I support everything that was said, and appreciate the board taking everything into consideration.
Thank you. Good. I believe we're looking for a continuance for the public hearing.
May I make a comment, please? As you all know, I'm very involved in multimodal transportation and advocacy for rail trails and other types of non-vehicular transportation. And I happen to know from the meetings I was in over the last couple of weeks that, and you just reminded me of the rail trail, right there.
Yes.
Imagine cutting off the rail trail, right? But DCR has allocated almost $500,000 for design work that'll start, it's supposed to start by March or April of next year for a full rebuild of the National River Rail Trail in the next 4 to 5 years. There have been earmarks put aside for that, just so you guys know. So maintaining the walkability around the corner there would just be like, it would be so crazy if we took away the sidewalk that's next to the rail trail. That's just a personal comment, not a planning board comment.
Motion to continue?
So moved.
Seconded.
Move to continue. When are we going to move until?
Is it the next meeting?
So
Yeah.
that's why our
Because we have a fairly full docket coming up.
So, not the 26th. So as of right now, the 26th, we have nothing. We have on December 10th, we have
26th
Stratton
of
Hill.
November.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's our next meeting. That is, so right now we have nothing on that agenda.
Okay. So I would ask, do you think we'll be able to get answers on the, just thinking logistically, will we be able to get answers on the ownership and of the area next to the rail trail? And we're going to need to get some work done on the definition.
Yeah, so the definition, I think we could definitely get in within that time. The land, I'd say yes, but it could depend on town council.
It may need to have a title search
Yeah,
done.
exactly.
It may take some time.
So it may take some time, but I mean, I think in the meantime, I think we moving to the 26th would, because I know the board's going to want to discuss traffic study if that's going to be, if you guys are going to want to do that, all that other stuff. So I think the 26th would be a good meeting for that to discuss, and maybe the applicant can come with numbers from your other stores to show the board what you see in your other stores similar to this. That may help them with their decision, and then also discuss waivers and all the other stuff. And then, but we should be able to have at least the question answered by Charlie on restaurant definition, discuss traffic and waivers and comments, and then I can hopefully get the land thing done by then.
So the
do we-
proposal is we continue until November 26th. That's the motion you're looking for?
Yes, I am.
If I understand that. I move that we, I forgot the word.
Site plan review.
Yes, thank you. That we
Continue.
continue. I couldn't remember the word continue. I move that we continue the site plan review for 1 Park Street until the next planning board meeting on November 26th,
Second.
2024.
Are you guys going to be able to be there? Is that what you're
Well,
holding?
no, I believe I can be there. My question is more logistically.
Will we be?
Well, no, it's more on if the board will be requiring a traffic study. I would rather, and I think my client would rather not make these plan revisions and address comments, and then come to the planning board hearing on the 26th and find out that a traffic impact study would be then required, pushing us potentially, depending on how long it takes to get a traffic engineer on board, I would think potentially into January. So if a traffic impact study is something that the planning board is looking for, we would like to know sooner rather than later. And I would also ask if the town and MassDOT has information that they're basing their build out and design on, if we can.
So I know that a traffic study was completed for this area. The town did have one done. I don't know what Matt and Dan can or cannot give them. I can't speak to that. But I guess I could reach out to them. I don't know how the board wants to handle this. This is up to you guys.
Are you, I mean, if you're saying sooner rather, you mean sooner than the next planning board
I-
meeting you
like-
have to make the decision?
I would like to know, on behalf of my client, if we need to engage a traffic engineer, I think before the 11/26 hearing. So that,
Yeah, because I can't be the one to tell them
No,
that,
you-
so you guys would have to decide tonight then.
like, if you're looking for that
I'm
study.
ready, I can make a motion.
I was concerned when you said it's a very heated discussion. I'd move that we require a traffic impact study
I'll
for
second
the
that.
project at 1 Park Street being presented this evening.
Can
Yeah,
I ask a question as somebody who just makes pizzas for a living? I understand all this stuff.
yeah, sure.
So traffic impact study, I understand you're measuring, the traffic around, but what's, if it comes back more than you expect, what's the result or less? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it comes back and, oh my God, there's a lot of traffic. Then what? Because I hate doing things just to do them.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. What happens is when they do the traffic impacts analysis, they'll do all the counts. They'll figure out the level of service, and what they'll do is at the end there's a recommendation of suggestions of how to alleviate those issues that come from the traffic on this. Where I get a little, it gets a little blurry is, how does that tie into what we're already proposing from our traffic study that we've done for Park Street and Main Street? That's where it gets a little blurry as to what would happen then.
Understood, but excuse me, understood. I'm sorry, I wasn't looking up. Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Ken?
So, in answer to Keith's concern, I think we all know there's a lot of traffic there. The main goal, I believe, is to determine the increased trips from the site to the street, not the trips down the street, if I'm interpreting correctly. So if you put 800 to 1,000 trips off the site onto the street, what is that, the difference between that and having a bank there? And what we had now. So I'm just guessing, the old traffic study looked at the bank usage and also all the traffic and the turning and all that stuff.
Yes.
So we were interested, I'm just speaking myself.
No, go ahead.
I think what we're looking at the safety of vehicles coming on and off the site and how there would be an impact on the traffic that's on the street.
Yeah. That's
Safety concern
it's
coming on and off the site.
yes, that is correct. Yeah, it's the traffic that comes from the use
From the
and
use.
how that affects the surrounding area.
Exactly.
But what the problem that where it gets a little blurry then and kind of gets a little where I get confused is because we did a traffic study where obviously the existing use was a bank. I don't know when the traffic study was actually
It may have
completed.
actually happened after the bank closed.
Could have been after the bank was
It may have
closed.
been. So
Or
that's
during COVID when the bank was
exactly.
effectively mothballed.
Yeah, so I don't know when that may have occurred. So what my question to Matt would be, I guess, how does that affect the counts that you guys did in their traffic study, and what recommendations came out of that for the traffic study to be done for as part of that upgrade project? Would they have to, if some of those things came up during theirs, would they be responsible for doing those, and then the this is where
That'd be tough.
I know that, and that's where
But without having the information, we can't even have that discussion yet.
Yeah.
Traffic impact, safety, sight lines. It's a 96-page document, guys. We know it because we
Yeah.
read them all the time. So I think the request from the applicant is a reasonable request. I think it's something that is important that needs to be done. That I would argue is probably the busiest intersection in town. The busiest T intersection in town we have. I can think of a Y that's almost as busy. And so that's where I am on it.
Yes, Nathan?
I think what the applicant is asking is what practically does this affect? Like, is he gonna have to add a turning lane to his property? I mean, this is what results from a traffic study, right? That's what the gas station was up against. Are we going to close the Main Street? Would we recommend that the Main Street entrance get closed so the
That's a
traffic?
possibility.
That's those, or maybe just a sign, look both ways before you're exiting because the sight lines are terrible. It could be a range of things. It certainly isn't, it's not going to be at a turning lane, but it could be very minimal outcome, minimal to none, or change the traffic pattern through the property, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
I think that one of the complications for the applicant and the engineer now is determining the exact scope of the traffic study. That could take time in
Yeah.
your defense. So be thinking about how you want that scope to look. Because if you get into a big scope, forget it.
And then,
It wouldn't be fair to anybody.
and then to continue off of the whole traffic study, a peer review would need to
Traffic
be done.
It's not a peer review and all that stuff. Yeah, so I think to defend the traffic study as a point of discussion is that I think as a planning board, to do due diligence on a project that's on that corner, we really are obligated to the town to do, ask the applicant to do some kind of traffic study. I'm of the opinion it doesn't have to be a massive traffic study, it just needs to determine the impact of that change of use. That's where I stand, thank you.
And actually, Danny, you mentioned something that I meant to mention. So I actually think TPW would be happy to have the information.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
so-
whatever they've chosen to do,
Yeah.
there's a blind spot now.
It's just, and
Yeah.
again, where.
And I'm
this-
sure Matt and Dan will have something. That's
Yeah.
what they do. They will have it. They will be willing to jump in on this.
Yeah, it's very possible that they already have the information,
Yeah.
but the.
Oh, they're always
you
good
know,
with
it's,
information.
it's, when you do your TI, you know, your TI standards and you use the.
Statistical analysis.
Yeah, the
and-
statistical analysis and, you know, what the use is and how much it produces and, you know, left and rights. That they may not have, so that's where you may need to, you know, supplement. I don't know.
That's kind of what I was thinking when I heard that there might be existing information. Is that ultimately a traffic impact report is basically a 100-page math problem. And what you can do sometimes with those that have already been done is you change a couple input variables to reflect the actual condition that you're proposing, and you don't have to do everything over again.
Correct.
Wait.
Been on both sides of that.
Yes, I have as well.
So we have a motion and we're at the discussion. We have a second.
We have a motion. We do have a motion in a second, right, Heather?
I don't know, you have two motions going on at once, so excuse me if I'm a little.
There's a motion
You
in a
did have
motion.
second, so you're just looking for your vote now.
Okay.
And then we need to go back to the continuance.
Yeah. So the motion is we're working around the traffic impact study. Okay.
And we have a second for this traffic impact study? Okay. Any further discussion on the traffic impact study? Hearing none. Ken?
Aye.
Julie?
Yes.
Nathan?
No.
Jeff?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. And then,
Mr. Chairman, ask you a question, please.
please lay it on me.
Before we go to the continuation.
We already have the motion open for the continuation, so unless it's a discussion on the continuation.
Is there a
I would
second?
really like to have that closed out, because right now your minutes are just.
If we vote for the continuation, my question is not germane to this
Alright,
topic.
so now we're still in discussion for this continuation.
I would just make a
Trying
request.
to make sure this makes sense for you all.
Yep.
I'm totally confused now.
Makes sense to me. But
Yeah,
moving on
so
to
we're
continuance,
still-
It's all we're doing.
Yeah, we're still open into the continuance, so unless we want to just.
We have to vote on the continuance.
Yeah, we
right
have
now.
to, yeah, we have to.
Yeah, I had one more question that we didn't get to during the
And I
discussion.
just wanted to clarify, there's a second to the continuation, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to clarify. So, yeah, so we have that, any further discussion?
I think you wanted to
The discussion is this, in reading through the application, number 6 on the application that is required from the town asks for either a deed, copy of the deed, and/or a written letter from the person who controls the property. And we have a copy of the deed, but we don't have.
Yeah, that was requested.
Okay, great.
I did request
Great,
that.
so that's all, I just wanted to make sure that we get, that completes the package. We've run into problems in the past where the person who doesn't control the property we've been working on.
Mm-hmm.
That protect both sides of the
Yes,
conversation.
understood.
Okay.
We have the signature of the property owner, but
Yeah.
we'll secure a letter saying that they're
Perfect.
on board with the application process.
Thank you.
I'd like to move to vote, please.
Aye.
Ken, Nathan, Julie?
Ken and Nathan.
I'm flattered.
Nathan?
Aye.
Jeff?
So, yes, aye.
Chair votes aye. So we have a continuance. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Say 15. And I just, let's talk about the presentation of the conservation restrictions. So whether it makes sense to do this tonight or defer this?
Well, so we could do it, so it shouldn't be too long of a presentation. We could do it tonight, or we could do it on the 26th. We just want to make sure we have this done prior to our December 10th meeting.
That's fine. I want to respect, Heather's doing the presentation. What are your thoughts? Are you exhausted now, or would you prefer to
I
do it?
appreciate you actually asking my opinion on that. It's very nice. I didn't assume that your meeting would take this long. So when I scheduled it, I didn't know if you were going to be having a meeting the 26th. Unfortunately, the 28th, I am making Thanksgiving dinner. I do not want to be here until 9 o'clock,
That's fine.
2 days before Thanksgiving.
That's fine.
So I would love to have this presentation. I think
Let's
it's
do
very
it.
important.
So-
I want to give it as much time as it needs. I don't want to rush through it. So if I could respectively ask if we are going to do it on the 26th, that it be first.
Oh,
We can do it. We can
I'm
do it
actually
first.
willing to do it now.
I want to give it the time it needs, and I don't want to rush through it. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, we've been dealing with this for.
Everybody can still hear you.
Yeah. So that's all I'm asking, because I don't want to have this presentation.
if I
be
understand you
15
clearly, you like to give it full time without rush.
Correct.
The 26th is good, but it have to be first, so
I
that you,
kindly request that it be first.
is that doable? Yay? Everyone happy?
Motion to continue the conservation.
We don't even need a motion, just that it's an understanding.
Jesus, guys.
So, thank you. I just wanted, because I recognize that things went later, and we'll move the presentation to the 26th. It'll be the first item. Project status updates. Anything we should know?
So there are going to be some future
Really?
projects coming forth. Jonathan actually sent an email over to me today, and the property owner has actually spoken. 3 to 5 Park Street. So we're in early discussions on that project. And 3 to 5. It's 3-5. So there's a potential project coming in from there. There is a project being proposed from the DPW, the Clearwell storage tank. The new storage tank that would build up more capacity of water for, out of the
PFAS plant.
because of the PFAS plant that's slowing down. So that's something that's going to be coming before the board. They're looking to be submitting at the end of this week, which will get them on the December 10th meeting, which is also the same meeting we have the Stratton Hills meeting. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to give the board. I think that was it that I had for to give you guys updates on.
The Park Street project, it's under
For
construction.
the 42 Park Street.
Any update there? I have an update. I have a concern that pretty sure the plan we approved calls for that to have a entrance that's at grade. And it looks like the building is considerably above grade with a set of stairs. So as you take a close look at that plan, because I believe we had accessible parking on the left of the building.
Yep. It was at grade with the parking.
Sidewalk.
Yep, with the sidewalk.
Which would then lead to the entrance.
Yeah, so this is something that you raised to me and to Charlie, and I did talk to Charlie about this as well. As of right now,
They're bringing the grade up.
we're gonna see what they have proposed. Charlie has also told me that if it's wrong, then they're gonna have to fix it, but as of now, he's saying that they're following what's on the plan. I won't know until I have actual grades out there. Obviously, we can look at that and that it's not. It doesn't look like it's what was approved, but I won't know until the plans. I have final as-built plans.
Could you report back to the planning board on it?
Yes. So that is, it has been raised to Charlie as well, so that he knows about it and he's well aware.
Thank you.
I noticed the doors were kind of high up in the air.
Mr. Chair,
Nathan, please.
if anybody wants to see underground water storage, look at Nasoya. They've started their construction and they have all their pipes, their underground pipes in. It's really amazing.
Wow, thank you. Good. Any other projects that?
So Minnesota's gone, going.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually had a a pre-construction meeting with them a couple months back. We had to kind of stop them a couple of times, but they got all their engineers on board, they've got everything that they needed, so they're moving forward.
Yes, Kathleen.
Just a logistics question. I don't know who to direct this to, but are there meeting dates for 2025?
I have not created those yet. Sam and I will get those created and have those ready. Usually I get them done in December, but I can have, me and Sam can look at them and get them formulated out so that we have dates for you guys.
There's only one December meeting, right?
That is correct, yes. The December 24th, there's no meeting.
Okay.
Can't believe you guys don't want to be here on the 24th.
I'll be dropping down chimneys.
It's an interesting dance between
Exactly, me too.
us and the select board on who gets to start the new year first. And then the other board gets the cycle.
All right. Good. Movement to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.